God, I hope so. Seems to be. Okay, well, this is good news. Give this a minute here. A little bit, video's a little choppy. I think it's our, that might be our HDMI cable. Anyway, audio's fixed. I think, for now. Dude. Oh my god, people. Holy crap. Just like the way everybody's driving tonight.
33.
Got my blinker on to go over, and this guy's in the left lane. He decides to, like, dart over at, like, Jesus, people. I guess we're in Kansas City, and sorry about the thumbnail. It got stuck from an old stream. We're not actually chasing a storm right now. We're repositioning for tomorrow to chase some storms. We'll talk about that in a minute.
58.
Weird. We seem to be running choppy again. I think it might be an issue with the encoder. Well, I'm going to pull over up here at the next gas station and figure out what's going on with that. Not quite sure why that's doing it, because we're on a totally different setup than we normally are. That's primarily why I wanted to do this, to make sure we don't have any issues. Fix a couple of the problems that we have. I just want to get off of this interstate. 126 miles left. Well, this isn't an interstate, this is a state highway, but oh my god, the traffic, and everybody's driving. For some reason, everybody's driving around with their high beams on. And I can't even use my mirrors. I had to turn both of the side views out, and the rear view mirrors flipped up. I can't even use my mirrors. Like, everybody, for some reason tonight, everybody's driving around with their high beams on. And it is absolutely blinding. And I have no idea why they're doing it either. It's really weird. Seems like everybody that I've encountered ever since the Topeka area. Stop up here in just a little bit for some fuel, because I'm about out, and I want to take a look at why the stream is chopping like that. I'll get the chat pulled up and everything too. So bear with me here as we experiment a little bit. Now, well, I don't see the QT.
Copy.
How far do I have to go?
South.
Quarter
Use the
mile.
right lane to keep right at the fork, then turn right onto West Frontage Road.
Alright. Yeah, thanks for joining me, everyone. This is primarily just going to be a test of the equipment here as we travel south. We've got the audio fixed. For some reason, the video is really crappy and lagging, and I don't know why that is. There's no reason that it should be doing that, so we'll take a look at that here. It's a good time to test the equipment, because we've got a pretty, I don't want to say significant severe weather day tomorrow, but we've got a busy severe weather day tomorrow, it looks like. Go to this gas station here. Google, you've got to stop. We'll pull in here, get fuel, I'll get the chat brought up. But yeah, this severe weather threat today is over. 100%. Blizzard conditions, though, about to be happening up there in Minnesota and the Dakotas and such. Alright, let me see if I can get this figured out.
For a contact form, please.
Anyway, let me try something.
What'd you make there?
Yeah, we'll have to do a little bit of experimenting, and I can't really do any experimenting unless I'm live, so that's kind of the unfortunate thing. Still about 48 degrees here. It's not too bad out. It's really not. The wind is kind of cool, though. Experimenting unless I'm live, which is kind of sucks. It's kind of the unfortunate thing. Yeah, this thing is really, the video is really chopping up. That's strange. See if I can fix that. Anyway, maybe we should have just said the heck with everything and went after chased that blizzard, but I've had enough snow for the year, that's for sure. I just want to see if this is a problem with the live view. Or not. Alright, so I may have to cut the video feed for just a second. I'm not sure yet. Did it just get fixed? Is it fixed now? Yeah, Christopher, you're right. I mean, it's going to look more stable because we're not moving, but I'm looking at the cars, and it looks like it's fixed now. So yeah, I agree.
HEW, Robert.
I'm watching the traffic and it doesn't seem to be. Here, we'll do the finger test. The thing that bothers me is I don't know what I did to fix it. That's kind of a problem. Shit. Yeah, we're gonna be back to like choppy video here. I just feel it. Something's gonna get screwed up here.
Go on.
Zoom in on those guys there. The stream, the stream lag is a lot less now too. I think we've only got about a 3-second delay in the stream. We'll videotape this intersection. How about that? I'm gonna watch this for a minute here and see if that lag comes back, because that's really strange. I don't know why it stopped. It's got nothing to do with anything in the car. It's all remote. And of course, now that I turned the camera over there, there's zero frickin' traffic. Somebody's got a horrible belt squeal. Alright, well, I'm going to get gas. Let's be smart about this. I wonder if there's any cheaper fuel around here. This $50 a tank is really kind of killing me. But I really shouldn't complain because last year was like $80 a
Showing
tank.
revoked. SID no caution. Here's 19.
Head west on East 147. Head east on Missouri 1.
I think I'm going to stay in
east toward
Fayetteville
White
tonight.
Avenue. Then use the left 2 lanes to turn left onto White Avenue. Head west on East 147th Street toward East Frontage. Head west
Western
on East
Arkansas.
147th Street toward East Frontage Road West.
Well, looks like this is probably the cheapest gas. Maybe not. Yeah, okay, it is not. We have 50-cent cheaper gas down the road, so we're going to go down the road. I really don't like being that cheap, but 50 cents when you're talking about 18 gallons, that's $9, and for $9, that's literally like breakfast, lunch, or dinner for me, so... And then,
In 1,000 feet, turn left onto East Frontage Road West.
if you can save, are you sure you don't want me to go that way? This seems like it's, okay. But when you do that at least twice a day, you're talking about basically paying for your food while you're on the road by just Googling cheap gas. Watch, the stream quality is going to go to crap now. I fully expect it to, just because that's my luck. Yep, went to hell. Weird. Well, we'll figure it out. I'm not too worried about it. We'll figure it out. Let me pull over again here and check it. Yeah, guys, I see it's choppy. I agree. I'm working on it. In fact, I'll probably just stop right here. It's got nothing to do with actually moving. I believe it's the transcoding process on the server. And, you know, I appreciate all the input, folks, but it's nothing to do with it in the car. Unplugging anything or turning anything off is not going to do anything for us, unfortunately. I believe it's this service that's transcoding this is having an issue with all the data coming in. That's what it seems like. So hold on one second. Let me cut the video here and redo it. But yeah, nothing to do with anything in the car, folks. I appreciate the troubleshooting, but I'm actually really familiar with the setup I'm using because not only did I purchase it, but I installed it and built it. So it's not like an HDMI cable issue or anything. Good thought, but it's definitely not. So, folks, I will let me change a couple of settings here, and don't worry about me. I guess talk amongst yourselves here. I'm gonna try to give this a lower bit rate because I think we're overloading the transcoding server.
What do you think?
So we're going to see if that does anything for us here. Okay, so we're going to see if that... Maybe. It's going to be hard to tell. So if you are just joining us, we're just going to be driving here to the Little Rock area, or Fayetteville, Arkansas, I guess. And just wanted to do a little bit of a live stream here to get this tested and get everything figured out before tomorrow, because it looks like tomorrow could be a big day for severe weather, tomorrow into tomorrow evening. Okay, so we're still having problems, folks, so our test here is not working so well. Let me try a couple of other things here and we'll be right back. This one might take me a minute here, though. Okay, so we're going to see if this works. It probably won't. So we're going to see if this works. Probably won't. Yeah, I know the purple flashed in there, folks. Don't worry about what I'm doing so much, I guess, when it comes to that stuff. This HDMI cable is probably bad. I literally do have the stream monitor in the car here. I see everything you folks do. Like every time that happens, the chat just explodes. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, the freaking thing flashed." Like, I know. It's just HDMI cables and cars don't mix very well at all. Need to get everything here switched over to SDI. And I don't know why everything's not working right, so we'll probably wrap this stream up here in a couple of minutes. I can't have this cobble job operating. It's just extremely frustrating. I have no idea why it's doing this. It's nothing to do with our equipment. Our equipment is streaming just fine. It's
frontage road west for 3/4 of a mile.
The server that the system that we literally pay $800 a month for is not transcoding things properly, and it's becoming very, very frustrating. So We're gonna have to get on the phone with some sort of tech support and see if they can figure this stuff out. So I apologize, folks, but that's why I have to do this. I have to make sure that things are working properly before severe weather days, because my income, my life, and my livelihood literally depends on this stream working. So it's just really important that it's working. But yeah, we need to switch over to SDI. That'll eliminate all the occasional flashes. HDMI cables, you hit a bump in the road, they get electrical interference from sometimes ignition systems. They're not good for in-car use at all.
In a quarter mile, at the traffic circle, take the second exit onto East 155th Street, East Arnold Avenue.
I do want to watch this for a minute, see if it clears up, but again, if you are just joining, we're just kind of messing around with equipment. Looks like we're going to be chasing storms tomorrow. I do not have any specifics on exact timing and location, folks, so I do not have that information. I probably won't until early morning either, it looks like.
Exit the traffic circle onto East 155th Street, then turn left onto the I-49 South ramp.
Well, which is... none of these are 155th Street. Oh, this is
south on
irritating.
South Outer Road toward Grand
None of
Street.
these are 155th
Continue on
Street.
South Outer Road for 1.5 miles.
Not impressed with Google Maps. Alright, 1 second, folks. I'll be right back. Let me try resetting this transcoding. Oh, excellent. So it's fixed, but now we're tiny. Awesome. Alright, everybody. Well, that fixed it, but the picture's tiny. I don't know how to fix that. Hold on here. Let me try fixing that. I think for some reason this transcoding server just does not like the bit rate coming in, so it seems to be that adjusting the bit rate slightly is fine. We're normally at about 8,000 kilobits, and just putting it at capping it at 7,700 seems to solve the problem, or even going over 8,000 kilobits solves the problem also, which is really weird. It just doesn't like that specific bit rate for some reason. Your guess is as good as mine, but if that actually solves the problem, I would be happy. Let me see if I can resize this here. Let's see, fit to screen. There. Alright, that works. Now let's go ahead and pull up my phone and make sure that this works. Alright, that works. Now let's go ahead and pull up my phone and make sure that this works. Alright, so this should interrupt the video here in a moment with my phone camera. Might take it a minute.
Eagle 3 traded on final for Odessa 2057.
Maybe not. Oh, nope, that's why. Alright, that should override in a minute. There we go. Good. Alright, so now we can move around and go get gas and stuff with the phone. So that's working good. And, there we are. It seems to be working properly. So that's cool. Alright, I guess I'll get gas now. Alright, well, that might have fixed our problems. Alright, somebody's got to guess here how much this is going to cost for me to put fuel in. I'm going to guess $45 because we're not totally empty yet. Probably 45. I don't know. slow gas pump. Very slow.
Get off 454.
Okay, what are we gonna get to? I don't think we have enough hose. I think we're gonna exceed the 40. We are cheating. We're using the E15. Up 44.29. That's not too bad. Yes. Okay. 129 in California, I believe it. I couldn't live there.
Your basement.
Just use our route.
I guess I wonder if this is actually fixed or if it's going to get screwed up again the second we pull away. Probably going to get screwed up again because that's my luck. But no, that's been a goal of mine for a while, was to have a way for the phone to override the mainstream. Phones are very limited because what are you doing, Google? You piece of junk. Phones are very limited because you don't have any bonding, and most of the time they really aren't. Unless you've got good service, it's crap. That's why I don't stream with a phone like I used to a long time ago, and a lot of people still do. It's crap compared to something better, So, if we're out in the middle of nowhere and we need every little bit of signal off of all 6 cell phone carriers, well, all 3 carriers, but 6 channels, then you still have to take the camcorder out of the windshield and put the backpack on. But when you're just around in an area like this, you can pull the phone out and do stuff like that, which is cool. Because there's a lot of times when you get out of the car, you want to show somebody something. Instead of grabbing the camcorder and the backpack, you just grab a phone, hit the button, and it just goes over top of whatever is being streamed, which is nice. The other option, and there's a couple of storm chasers that do that. Well, I laugh about this because it's kind of comical, because there's a few of them that aren't the nicest that try to do this. But the idea is, just get a wireless HDMI transmitter and hook it up to your camcorder. Okay, well that's cool. Well, now you've got this giant HDMI transmitter box. Now, like the Hollyland Mars ones are pretty good, but you can put that on your camcorder and then put the other one on like your live view or your streaming encoder and walk around, but you're still limited. You've got to have all the batteries to power it and everything, whatever. You just can't beat a phone for portability. So it just makes sense to have the phone override it. And most of the time we're in an area where the cell signal is good enough. And I usually know because I'll take before I get out of the car, I'll take a look at the screen that tells me the current bit rate of all the cell phone carriers we're using. And I've got an AT&T, a Verizon, and a T-Mobile phone, and I'll just pick whichever phone has the highest bit rate. So even though the phones aren't connected to the encoder, you know, if I look over and we're getting, you know, 2,500 kilobits a second upload speed on one of the AT&T connections, well, then I'll grab the AT&T phone versus the Verizon one that looks like it's not even connecting at all. So that's how I kind of know which phone to grab. And it seems to work out pretty well for the most part. It's going to be really cool this spring when we're... I won't tell you exactly what the plans are this spring. I've got some really, really cool things we're going to be doing. I just don't want to announce them yet. But as you can see, we've got Radar Omega back up in the bottom corner there, like it should be, working again. They, of course, are our app partner, and we are streaming in the Radar Omega app right now, because I'm just making sure that's all working there too. Yeah, 15 days until storm season. Yeah, it's pretty much here at this rate, I'll tell you what. Season's coming in quick. Where are we headed? I don't know. Fayetteville, Arkansas is going to be just a starting point. I'm going to probably get a hotel there tonight. Should get there around midnight, 1 a.m. or so. Reposition early in the morning. Somebody in the chat is upset that their girlfriend is mad about their wife. Yeah, that sounds pretty ridiculous. My sympathies, I guess. I don't think that tomorrow's going to be huge, though. I think if anything's going to be big, it could be Thursday, but models have done a terrible job with all this. Like today, today was nothing. And it was a pretty low-end setup, but the low-level core, or basically the core of the cold core, was displaced like 200 miles farther north than it should have been. So we didn't even really have a cold core event. We just had some showers. You know, it was just, models are just not cutting it right now, and I don't know if it's bad data or bad observations or what, but hopefully they get a grip on it. Now that low pressure system moved out of here, that's now responsible for the blizzard and all that, but was our severe weather event that never happened. Now that that's out of here, I'm hoping that these models will kind of resolve things a little better, which they should. I hope. Yes, I am in my car. Everybody keeps asking me if I'm in my normal car. And to me it's pretty obvious, but I forgot that banner on YouTube covers up that bottom part of the screen so you can't see the hood. But yeah, this is definitely my car. $3,499 later, this is my car again. You know, a lot of people, you know, this is social media, and I don't count YouTube as social media when I say things like this, because YouTube is almost nothing but positivity. But you go on Twitter and stuff, and people act like I am just the worst person in the world, and I've got millions of dollars and all this, and blah, 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 and I need to donate it to save the fish and the whales and all this. And it's like, no, wasn't really looking forward to that car repair wheel. Basically, we are stuck with this car for a long time now, probably, because these, the 3.7 liter engines that are in these, I don't care if it's in the Mustang, I don't care if it's in the Ford Edge or an Explorer or a Taurus or what, the internal water pumps are the main failure point. This is an excellent motor. You can run it to 500,000 miles as long as you change the oil with very minimal work. But you gotta have to change the water pumps. The problem, but it's timing chain driven, so you gotta rip the front of the motor apart, you gotta rip the valve covers off, you gotta rip the intake out. Timing chains and all that crap has to come off, so when you do the water pump, you might as well do the timing components, which was done. That was done, and then we did lower control arms up front and uppers in the rear, and that's pretty much all it needs. I still think it needs sway bar bushings, but we'll deal with that later. But now eventually it's probably going to need a transmission and a PTU, so that'll be another probably $3,500. We'll take it to Bob for that. Hopefully do that this spring, and then it'll should be kind of bulletproof at that point. But everybody on the internet, I made a comment about car repairs, and everybody's like, "Oh, get a Toyota." And it's like, well, I can't do what I do with this car with some kid's mom's Toyota Camry. Like, it's not going to happen. I mean, you can't beat on a Toyota Camry. Well, okay, I take that back. You can beat on a Toyota Camry; it'll fall apart. But this car gets. These cars are built to literally idle their entire life, almost nonstop. It's better than a Subaru, whatever. You cannot beat the all-wheel drive system. This is what I need to be storm chasing in. So it's worth the money. You know, we paid $4,000 for this car with the trade-in, which was that POS Green Explorer. So $4,000, $3,500. So we're at $7,500 and some odds and ends. So we're about $8,000 invested in this car. You tell me where I'm going to go get another car with 140,000 miles on it that's this capable for $8,500, that's this well maintained, and you will not find one. That's just the truth. I mean, if you buy these police government vehicles, if you buy the ones that have been maintained, not the ones that have been abused, but the ones that have actually been maintained, it's worth it. The reason this one was so cheap is because the paint was pretty screwed. But we strategically covered up a lot of the scratch marks with decals, so it doesn't really matter. And thank you, Tammy, for the super chat. A little late on that, but I think you just popped that in there shortly, so sorry if I'm late. But the reason I got rid of the Explorer is because, number one, that thing was a turd. That thing was an absolute toilet on wheels. I bought that thing because, well, I don't know why I bought it. That Ford Escape was falling apart, but it wasn't too bad. But another YouTuber that with wanted to wrap some cars and literally called me up and was like, "Hey, I want to wrap your car." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. Let's do it." And I'm like, "You're not wrapping this POS. Let me go get a better POS." So I went and I got a better POS, and we wrapped it. So it wasn't really anybody's fault, but that car had problems, and it shouldn't have. But it wasn't a lemon or anything. It wasn't as well maintained as it should have been prior to me. But I got rid of that. It needed water pump, timing chain, all that. Basically everything that this just got done with it. And it almost sounded like it had a knock from a rattling from the lower, the bottom end of the motor. And I just figured it was slack in the timing chain, but I think it might have been like a rod bearing. I don't think it was maintained properly prior to me. says I should wrap my car around a tree. I'm going to assume that you mean the POS that I got rid of and not necessarily a threat to my bodily harm, because that's pretty disgusting if it is. But I'm assuming that you're talking about pushing that tree or pushing that car into a tree with another car. That I would be okay with. That's about where that car belongs, is pushed into a tree. Oh yeah, I would love to wrap that, throw that thing around a tree. That thing, I don't even know what happened to it. They took it to auction. I went to trade it in and they gave me a hard time. They're like, oh, the cats are bad. And I said, no, they're not. Like, they're not. Like, I don't know how you determined that the catalytic converters were bad on a 5-minute test drive, but whatever. And he's like, I'll give you $800 for it. I'm like, BS, dude. The tires on that thing are worth $800. I'm like, give me $2,000. He was kind of, and I'm like, dude, I've bought 8 cars from you. That's 8 flipping cars. Like, you can give me $2,000 for this sack of crap. And then I looked him in the eye and I said, you're going to send that thing to auction and get $2,000 for it because you're not going to disclose all the problems with it. You're probably going to get $2,500 to $3,000, especially if you leave the wrap on it and don't disclose the mismatched paint underneath. And he's like, okay, fine. So that's how we ended up with this. And I did not wrap this because I don't think a full wrap on a Ford Taurus would look very good. I think it would look weird. So we just did the reflective decals on it, which I think looks freaking cool. But, yeah, this is a good car, though. There's a lot of room in here for a sedan. I was able to fit everything from the Explorer in here. You just had to play Tetris in the trunk, but it all fits. So that's cool. But it's going to get to the point where we're going to have to start buying something else because I don't like the new Ford Explorers, the police vehicles, the hybrids. Having a lot of issues, and that's the standard drivetrain is the hybrids. And I think after this Taurus, I think unfortunately we're going to have to go with a Chrysler product. I don't want a Tahoe because they roll. Tahoes are too unstable at high speeds and high wind. It's a truck chassis. It's not meant to go fast. There's a reason that, you know, you look at any like state highway patrol department, any department that allows vehicle pursuits, they probably do not have a Tahoe or a Suburban as their primary vehicles. They might have some, but it's not their primary vehicle. They have a Charger or an Explorer or a Taurus or something. Those Tahoes are not stable when you're doing 80 miles an hour in 90 mile an hour RFD. The Durangos, however, the Durango police vehicles, the PPVs, those, however, are. So, and I don't want a Charger. They sit too low to the ground. So the next one after this is probably going to have to be a Durango. I hate Chrysler, I hate Dodge, but that's probably what it's going to have to be, unfortunately. I try to stick with the police vehicles because, number one, they're built to idle like 24/7, and number two, it's a lot easier to install stuff in and wire everything. A lot easier, and they're cheap. I like Tahoes, but they just, it's too high profile of a vehicle for doing this because when you think about it, when you're in a hurricane and you're trying to dodge debris and you're taking corners left and right and you're doing like 80 miles an hour and the wind is blowing at 110 miles an hour, like you don't want to be in a Tahoe. I actually thought about getting another F-150. I used to own a bunch of F-150s. They were all pieces of junk, but I thought about a newer one. But then again, you're dealing with high profile. So the cool thing, though, about these, the police, the Interceptors, the Taurus, and the Explorer, you pretty much can't roll them. I mean, you can try to roll them, but the electronic stability control on these is literally unbelievable. California Highway Patrol did several tests to literally try to roll the car, and you can't. You just can't roll them. The all-wheel drive system on this, it corrects itself too well. It all attests to that because you're getting pushed around. You notice a huge difference driving one of these versus a regular vehicle in the wind and everything. So definitely a good car for what we're doing. Yeah, good comment about the alternator. It does have a bigger, I think it's a 220 amp alternator, but mine does not have a second battery, and I need to get a second battery put in just so that I don't have to leave the car idle so much. There's a 0-gauge wire, positive wire, run to the back trunk for accessories, and it goes straight to the battery up front, so I need to install a second battery. But anybody with a diesel vehicle knows this. You install a second battery, you better put 2 brand new identical batteries in or you're going to have problems. So I'm going to have to go get two good batteries and replace them both so they're identical, because if you could double the run capacity, I can run all the equipment in here on high everything. That includes, inverter, cameras, lights, all that. Everything powered on for 5 hours. That's headlights and everything, but that's not enough, because on the hurricanes and stuff, if I want to sleep in here or something, I may want to sleep for 12 hours and I want to be able to leave everything on. I want to double that to 10 or 12 hours. Plus, it's just peace of mind and not have to deal with dead batteries. I don't know if it's 220 amps at idle or if it's 220 amps at like 5,500 RPM, but yeah, it's definitely a bigger output alternator. Air conditioning system on this is air conditioning out of this is higher capacity also. But I don't know. I'm really picky with cars, so need to get some new tires on this though, but that can wait. The tires on here are good for probably another 15,000 before I want to replace them. But tires for these vehicles are expensive. These 18-inch rims, it seems to be kind of a weird size. It's about $1,000 to put good tires on these things, which is kind of ridiculous. I guess it might not seem so ridiculous. Like, if somebody's not buying tires 3 times a year like I am, maybe it's not such a big deal. The average driver probably keeps a set of tires for like 3 to 4 years, but I spend about $4,000 at discount tire every year. You would think that I'd get some sort of a discount for that, but I don't. Yeah, I don't like the new Explorers either. I don't like the newer body style. I think they're ugly. I like the 2016 to 2019 ones. I really do not like the new ones. I don't like the new Ford Escapes either. I think they're ugly, really ugly. The ones that look like a guppy. They got such a big grill, and then the headlights that look like eyeballs stuck way out to the side, like it looks like a fish. Not a big fan. I just really don't like newer cars. I think they're all really just hideous. Ford, a lot of the newer stuff that Ford makes is ugly because they're world cars now. Like the Fusion. When they redid everything with the Fusion and the Edge and the newer Escape and everything, they did the European platform. And they're basically the same car all around the world, and you can tell. I mean, they all look European now. They don't look American. But even like the Toyotas, like I don't really like the new RAV4s and stuff. Not the new ones, but just some of these new cars are really just ugly. Especially the new trucks. Like, if you've seen some of, like, the Chevy pickup trucks, like, my God, I don't know who designed the front end on those, but it looks like a 3-year-old did it. I mean, it's awful. I don't know. Give it 3 years, it'll all change anyway. Cody's right, though. There are too many electronics in vehicles now. It's really a pain to work around. Yeah, Tyler's right. Yeah, the new, you know, some of the Explorers with the Timberline, whatever it is, Timberline. Yeah, that's cool, but dude, look at the EcoBoosts. Like, you can't go 60,000 miles in an EcoBoost without a freaking coolant leak or a turbo going out. Like, I can only imagine, like, my God, we had a 2013 Fusion with a 1.6 liter EcoBoost in it. And I was so stupid when we bought that. I shouldn't have bought the damn EcoBoost. Should have bought the regular naturally aspirated one. But we got 150,000 miles out of that car without any coolant leak, and it was a bloody miracle. Because those EcoBoosts, especially those new, the smaller ones, in the earlier models, were known because of the open deck cylinder design. The head gaskets were so thin; they were known to just leak compression and eventually coolant between cylinders and burn up turbos and all this stuff. Like, it's a miracle that it probably had a coolant leak, actually. You know, it probably was starting to develop one when we got rid of it, but like, it's just EcoBoost. Just, I don't know. Like, the EcoBoosts that they put in these police interceptors and stuff, they're a little bit better. Like with this one, I bought one specifically that had replaced turbos on it twice, which probably ain't good, but Ford, not remanufactured, but brand new turbos are on. I mean, it's fine for it. It'll be fine, but like the consumer ones, like especially the small EcoBoost, like you take a 1.5 liter motor and you're just ramming air into the intake with a turbocharger. It's like I'm sorry, I think it's too small of an engine. I mean, that's why there's problems with them, in my opinion. Now, the turbos are burning up because the engine doesn't have enough freaking oil in it, probably enough oil pressure. It's a tiny little motor, so it's like, yeah, here, let's cram more air in it. You know, and it's like, I just don't, I'm not a big fan of turbocharging these tiny little motors. You know, you get a 2.5 liter or a 2 liter and start turbocharging that makes a little more sense, but these tiny little motors, I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. You look at these Mitsubishi, like the what is it? The Mitsubishi what is it? The really tiny ones. The really tiny little clown cars. It's a 3-cylinder motor. Like, come on. And like 14-inch tires. It's like, come on, how in the hell is that car safe? I mean, it's literally the size of a golf cart. I mean, these new cars are cheap. Like, it's horrible. Like, car manufacturers expect you to spend $50,000 on a new vehicle and then drive it to 80,000 miles and junk it. Like, that's ridiculous. If I'm going to spend $50,000 on a car, it better last to 300,000 miles before I have to put a motor in it. I mean, seriously, and that's honestly what people expect. Though I firmly believe that people expect they better get at least 200,000 miles out of a vehicle before they have to do any major work. And when I say major work, I'm not talking about brakes or, you know, wheel bearings and shocks. I mean, everybody's going to have to do that stuff every 100,000 miles. But I'm talking about like a transmission replacement or some serious motor work. If you've got to put a transmission in for $4,000 at 200,000 miles, you know, big deal. Or you got to put an engine in and it costs $5,500 at 200,000 miles. Okay, big deal. But you shouldn't have to be talking about putting an engine in at 80,000 miles like some of these EcoBoosts, because the gasoline direct injection, you're not cleaning. It basically injects the gasoline after the air fuel mix has gone past the intake valves. So the intake valves gum up with all this carbon, and it just destroys the motor. And these EcoBoosts a lot of them were junk because of it. And Ford's answer was, oh, install an oil catch can. I'm like, are you kidding me? But it's just, it's sad. When I was going to school to be a diesel tech, just for fun, we tore apart one of those 1.6 liter 2013 EcoBoost motors that somebody had in like a Ford Focus or something. Somebody in the class, we ripped it apart. It had 90,000 miles. The guy always changed the oil on it. Took it to the dealership, had Motorcraft synthetic oil in it from, you know, factory spec oil every 3,500 miles. And the motor was so caked full of carbon, it's a miracle it ran. And, you know, the upper end basically needed to be taken apart, polished, scrubbed, and probably replaced. Like, it's too bad that this stuff is built so cheap anymore. Scotty Kilmer can't hit me with a copyright strike unless I talk about the Toyota Celica. It's going to be a 1994 Toyota Celica. I see a couple of Scotty references in the chat. That's hilarious. So, I talked to Scotty like a year and a half ago when I had that Fusion. I emailed him just for the heck of it. And I'm like, hey, here's the deal. I got this thing. It's turning into a piece of crap. Like, do you want to make some YouTube videos with me? And he literally emailed back. He's like, yeah, sure, but your car is a piece of crap. Junk it. I don't, you know, don't even bring that thing near me, whatever. Go get a real car. And that's how I knew that he doesn't pay somebody to answer his emails. Because if anybody's watched Scotty's videos, you know what a, like, crotchety old man that guy is. And that's how I knew, yes, that guy really is him answering the emails when he told me to go buy a different car and to never bring a piece of junk like that around him and to go buy a real car. Like, yes, this is the real Scotty. But I do need to get a hold of him because we actually did kind of have an idea for maybe a video collaboration. That'd be kind of fun. So we have a mutual friend. Pico's Hank used to work with Scotty. Hank was Scotty's cameraman when he had that show on ABC or CBS or whatever. And I didn't know that until I got dinner with Hank last April. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I swear to God, every YouTube video that guy has is just him, like, complaining about a car. I mean, it's pure entertainment, and I have no problem with it. A lot of people don't like him because, you know, they say, oh, he just generalizes things, but I don't. I think the guy has done more good for the consumers than anybody else on YouTube has, because he really drives home the fact of making sure you don't get screwed when you go to get your car fixed. I mean, yeah, okay. You know, some of his stuff's a little bit out there, but the guy's not wrong. I mean, if you're broke and you're on a budget, don't go buy a new car, go buy a used car. You know, I mean, even this vehicle, you know, we're talking, I just paid $3,500 to get a frickin' water pump replaced. Go get me, you know, my 2012 F-150 that I used to drive around. If I would have taken that somewhere, it would have been about $400 for the water pump. And that's still a newer vehicle, but it's a simpler vehicle, you know. And if I would have done it myself, it would have taken me about an hour. You know, it's just, it's frustrating that vehicles have gotten like this. And it's only going to get worse. But keep in mind, too, mechanics are just going to keep getting better. There's a guy in Chicago, that Brian guy from Yorkville, the Ford specialist. He's all over YouTube. I was actually planning on getting this vehicle to him, but it turned out the vehicle wasn't going to make it down there. But that guy does a lot of good with these, and that guy can do a water pump problem in one of these vehicles in like a day. So, but it's just too bad because you could take a vehicle like this to a, you know, some shops won't even touch newer vehicles, especially internal motor work. A lot of them won't even touch it. Yeah, Ben's got a point about buying leased cars. You know, it's true. I bought a previously leased vehicle once that had like 20,000 miles on it. And yeah, it's cool because you buy it from the dealership it was leased from. It's even better. Usually they've got a printout of the maintenance history right there too. And sometimes they're certified and all this. So yeah, I actually agree. Most of the time, I think that's a pretty good way to do it. Honestly, folks, if I could, I would lease a vehicle. But I could install all my equipment without drilling a bunch of holes. But the problem is I would be moving equipment probably every 4 months. I would probably put that 36,000 mile, you know, the typical lease on in about 4 months, 4 to 5 months. And I can't be moving my stuff all the time. But I actually considered, you know, leasing it. You can get a leased vehicle with put decals on it as long as you take them off. But when I looked into it, I looked into like long-term leases to see if I could like get like a 60,000 mile lease, and you know, just maybe do get a vehicle every year. It just, the cost was just, it didn't make any sense. Even with all the repairs being paid for, it just wasn't making any sense. Yeah, I used to have old F-150s myself. I've owned several. I've owned 90s, you know, 2000s, 2010s. I am a kind of a self-proclaimed specialist with the 5.4 motor in the Ford. So if anybody has a 5.4 engine, the Triton pieces of junk, I'm your guy. The only reason I'm so good with those is because I had so many vehicles with so many problems, whether it's spark plugs or the exhaust manifold studs breaking or doing the timing because the phasers are junk. I am your guy. That's a motor a lot of people get screwed on. A lot of shops, you know, you bring in your F-150, 150,000 on it. It runs rough, it's clattering, and they're like, oh, it needs a motor. No, it doesn't. It needs a timing set because the cam phasers are junk, the oil pump's junk. It needs a high volume oil pump. Needs new cam phasers, and then some people will put dormant cam phasers on, and then those literally self-explode, and then they destroy your motor, and then you gotta go buy a motor. So every F-150 or Expedition I've owned that's had a 5.4 in it, I've had to do the timing on, I've had to do the exhaust manifolds on it. I never had problems with spark plugs, but I've done a lot of people's motors that had problems with the spark plugs. But I don't know, F-150, you know, it's relatively cheap to get all that done. You can get the timing and all that done for like $1,200 on one of those. And when you talk about tearing half the motor apart, $1,200 isn't that bad. You know, every 125,000 miles, it's really not a bad motor if it's been maintained properly. But they're very, very finicky. If you've got one that's had the oil changed every 3,000, no more, no less, it's probably fine. But ever since I was 16, it seems like every vehicle I've had, I've just been constantly fixing it. Toyota Tacoma, I agree. I wouldn't mind a 4Runner. I do like Toyotas. If I was going to get a different brand of vehicle, it would be a Toyota. But I do like the Tacomas. There's a lot of aftermarket accessories pre-made for them, you know, lights and off-road crap. The Tacoma's a good platform, and we're pretty well supported. Not too expensive to fix either. You know, parts may be kind of expensive, especially if you get Toyota parts. They're known to be expensive, but the labor times on a lot of that stuff isn't. There's still quite a bit of room in there to work on stuff. I do like Tacomas. We're trying to get Nikki a new vehicle. Well, now with this car repair, that's pushed back a couple of weeks, but sometime within the next couple of weeks. And I'm not quite sure what we're going to get her. I've looked at some Jeep Cherokees, the newer ones. I've owned a couple of those. They do have problems, but once again, you're dealing with maintenance too. If it's been maintained, it's better. But I've been trying to find like a newer RAV4, like a 2017 or newer, or a 4Runner or a Highlander or something. That's a little bit nicer, but I don't know. We'll see what we can find. I'm just not, you know, even the newer Toyotas, the quality control with them has gone down the toilet, but still good vehicles. But overall, though, like a RAV4 for a chase vehicle, I just am not a big fan of the exterior. But for a chase vehicle, they'd be pretty good if you put good tires on it. You know, the all-wheel drive systems are a little bit, I'm trying to think of the word, a little bit pathetic. I mean, they're fine, but it's definitely not four-wheel drive. But if you put a good tire on it, that's maybe a little more aggressive. You know, like a Michelin Cross Climate 2, or like a Firestone All-Weather, or Weather All, or All Season, or not all, Weather Ready. What is it? A Firestone Weather Ready or All Weather, whatever, something like that. You know, it'd probably be all right. Yeah, RAV4s with the CVT. Yeah, I don't know if, do they all have the CVTs now though? I thought only the hybrids did, but maybe not. Yeah, CVTs that's a problem. I'm not a fan. Drew is in Radar Omega. Drew, he drives a Nissan Armada. I think it's like a 2010 maybe. It's the official Radar Omega vehicle. It's got a Radar Omega wrap on it. He drives that around. And that's got like 250,000 miles on it, I think. And that thing looks good. It runs good. It's quiet. I mean, I've heard the damn thing run. It doesn't make a single noise that it shouldn't. I mean, and I thought, you know, in general, Nissans kind of suck. But after seeing how well that thing has been, you know, kind of put away wet, you know, left out to dry and still runs so good, I'm kind of impressed with that. Nissan Armadas are not that bad. Some of the Nissans are kind of crappy, but I think that Armada, it's because it's more of a truck chassis. It's not, I don't think they cheap out on it as much. I really wouldn't buy anything with a CVT in it either unless I had to. You know, if I was going to buy a brand new car, I probably wouldn't care because I maintain fluids. I change the oil. My oil never goes over 4,000 miles. I basically change it every 2 weeks. Between every 14 and 20 days on average it gets changed. And sooner if needed, but it never goes over 4,000. Coolant, you know, that gets changed. Coolant's easy, you know, it's whatever. I usually do that about once every 3-4 months. Just, you know, fluids are cheap, engines are not. Same with the transmission fluid. I don't flush it, but I'll drain it and fill it every 3-4 months. Just keep things fresh. I mean, if you got a new vehicle and you babied it with a CVT, it'd probably be okay, but still not going to last as long as a regular transmission. Yeah, Kias are not very good. Kia had a good run, though. For a while there, Kias were pretty good. I had a Kia Sorento. It was like a 2010 or 2011 or whatever. It was a really good car. But I know then they started cheaping out again after that. You know, the Kia Hyundai kind of deal. Same with Honda. Honda's having bad runs lately, too. How about electric? Yeah, so I actually had a deal lined up where we were thinking we were actually going to get given a Tesla, and that deal might still go through, but I actually seriously consider a Tesla, like the Model X, the SUV, for at home. you could buy a used Tesla somewhat reasonable, and in a couple of years it'll be even more reasonable. I'm sure Elon will screw something else up and it'll cause the price to drop, whatever. More power to the consumer, I guess. But, you know, there's a big debate. People are like, oh, electric this, you know, electric still uses fossil fuels. Here's the deal. I don't care. You know, there's other reasons to buy electric other than the fact that it's electric. You go get if you've never driven an electric car, go drive one. Go drive a Tesla and see why people want to drive them. You put your foot to the floor and the thing goes 0 to 60 in like 4 seconds. It's ridiculous. It's instant torque. There's less maintenance, a lot less maintenance. No oil changes. You're not worrying about head gasket repairs, stupid stuff like that. And they're really nice. Here's the thing, we could get a Model X and go 325 miles on a charge, figure about 250 in the winter. Let's say that we got that as a vehicle for at home. We keep an old car around, an old gasoline car besides mine for smaller road trips, but you put a charger at home. For us, like Nikki could drive that. She could drive all over. She drives 250 miles a week, if even. That thing would go all week on a charge. And if you're going to go farther and you don't want to deal with the supercharger network or whatever, then you take the other car. But I do like electric cars. I don't even consider the environmental impacts when I'm thinking about electric cars. I know there are, and there's pros and cons. But I just like electric cars simply because they're a lot better to drive. They're quieter, they're smoother, they're less hassle, they're all around nicer. I had a Tesla as a rental for a week and a half. Long story. And it was the best driving experience I'd ever had. And anybody that sits there and bashes electric cars, go drive one and then think again, because I tell you what, they are the driving experience is much more enjoyable. Would I pay for the self-driving option? Absolutely not. I would feel really weird sitting there and not driving the car. Yeah, well, there are problems with electric vehicles and fire. That is a thing. That is a legitimate concern, and that's one that I don't think is addressed enough. I mean, you looked at after Hurricane Ian, all the Teslas that were just bursting into flames. They were literally spontaneously combusting because the salt water got in the batteries and shorted them out. So that is a legit concern, and I don't think that concern is addressed enough. Everybody's too worried about bickering and arguing whether or not it's polluting to charge them or not, when I think people need to start focusing on how to contain the battery fires, because that is a legitimate thing. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually they have some sort of self-extinguishing battery pack or some sort of fire retardant or fire retarding mechanism or something. But yeah, that is a legit concern, and that's a really valid one. I think that's probably the most valid concern with electric cars, honestly. Because that would really suck to just have your car spontaneously combust in your garage. I wouldn't mind a Model S. Yeah, the Plaid would be cool. But I think if we got one, I would want the X, just for the extra room. But the cool thing with the Tesla, too, though, you get a lot of room in there. Because I had a Model S for a rental. And there is a lot of room in there. Just the dashboard it's pushed way up into the windshield. There's a ton of leg room. You've got the trunk, the front trunk space. You've got the regular trunk. The back seats are huge. There's a lot of headroom. There is a lot of room in those cars. It feels like you're driving an SUV. I get asked a lot if I would take a Tesla storm chasing, and I would and I wouldn't. Like, let's say I lived in Oklahoma City and I was going to go chase in Wichita, 2 hours from Oklahoma City, and I knew I was going to stay in Wichita. Yeah, I could take it. But, you can, there's superchargers all over the place, but when you're storm chasing, you need to be able to stop and fill your tank and be gone from the gas station in 5 minutes. You don't have 30 minutes to sit at the supercharger. or go 20 minutes out of your way to get to a supercharger. It's just not possible right now. Give it 5 to 8 years, and I bet it'll be possible. You know, they'll have either even quicker charging or something, whatever. But no, it's not really possible. I mean, if you were driving a Tesla and you came across a storm and you wanted to chase it, yeah, you could do that. But it wouldn't be a good dedicated storm chasing car, no. But if anybody knows Elon, I mean, if he wants to challenge me, he can give me a Tesla and I'll try it anyway. I guess. But yeah, David has a point too, like actually getting a vehicle charged, like that's the problem that we have in hurricanes exactly. Like when the power's out, you can't pump gas when the power's out. But I could carry 20 gallons of spare fuel. With an electric car, you can't. I mean, what are you going to do? Tow around a spare battery? You know, that is a disadvantage. And I think that before, I mean, if we're going to have the electric vehicle conversation, we might as well have it. I think before electric vehicles become mainstream, we're going to have to do something with the power grid. I think, and we're seeing it being, you know, beefed up in some places. You know, things change every day, but I think before that we could start having too many of these electric cars become really, really mainstream, the power grid is going to have to become a little bit more, not necessarily reliable, but I think a little more robust, maybe a little more fail-safe, because when the transportation industry now relies on something that you can't really just store in a gas can, then you start running into problems. And, you know, I'm sure that, you know, engineers are thinking of that. I mean, right now there's not a whole lot to do, but then again, if we start getting electric vehicles that have 600-mile range capacities on them, it's not such a big deal then. So I don't know. I think battery technology's got a little ways to come. I figure in about 5 years, though, we'll probably have a much better electric car opportunity. You know, like Ford with the electric F-150, I thought that was kind of silly. To me, that's just too high profile of a vehicle for electric. A lot of people are saying that just the range just isn't very good, but I mean, it's cool that these car companies are experimenting and taking it on. You know, even if you yourself, you don't like electric vehicles, someday you might, and by allowing these companies like Ford and like they did with the Maverick and the Lightning and all this crap, by allowing them to make mistakes with electric vehicles today, we are allowing them to build a much better electric vehicle tomorrow. That's why I'm not going out and buying an electric F-150, even though I think it's cool. Other people are buying it, finding out what works, what doesn't work, and engineers will go from there, and then hopefully in 5 years we'll have a perfect product. Maybe not, I don't know, but we can only hope. But we'll see what happens. That's all we can do. Yeah, electric vehicles are expensive too because they're new, and that's a good point. They will go down in price. I mean, you could actually go buy a used Tesla for like $40,000. Probably less than that, but decent mileage for like 40 grand, which was unheard of a while ago. I don't even know what's going on with the Cybertruck. Are they making that yet, or what's going on? Yeah, I agree too. Like if there could be an aftermarket replacement batteries, you know, rebuild kit for some of these electric cars, that would go a long way. To get an actual Tesla battery serviced, you're talking thousands of dollars, tens of thousands sometimes. You know, if aftermarket could come out with replacement cells, that would be a big deal. buy a Toyota Prius and start chasing in a Toyota Prius. Might as well at this point. But thank you guys for watching and joining. We are just driving to the chase area, target area tomorrow. Just driving along right now, trying to get everything figured out. Just streaming to stream. I'm not going to stream the whole way. Oh shoot, hang on. God dang it. Camera's about to die, it's not plugged in. Hold on. Wait a minute, yes it is. What is going on here? Oh, never mind, it's unplugged. Shoot. Here we go. Crisis averted. If you are new here, though, our website is pinned in the chat. No, it's not. Is it? I thought I pinned our website in the chat. Whatever. It's seethestorm.com. I did redo the website. We've got some new merchandise on there. Adding more, cleaning up the merchandise thing a little bit as well. So you're welcome to go check it out. Find all of his social media links there. here. It's not a bad night out. Temperature's actually rising. Now we're up to 52. Switch this over to the Be Right Back screen for a second. I just want to make sure that works. I gotta fix this thing on there too, don't I? On this one also. stuff here if you can't tell. This morning around, God, what was it? About 5 a.m. is when I left. So yeah, it's been quite the day so far. It's really honestly that windy out. It's pushing the car all over the road. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up though, folks. I need to make a couple of phone calls in regards to the severe weather tomorrow. Go ahead and go to my website, seethestorm.com. That's where our Discord link is, also our social media links. If you have Twitter, follow on Twitter. That's probably the easiest way, but I'll be posting a little bit of a forecast breakdown tomorrow morning before we get going. And then members, I've got a members-only update I'm going to do as well, so for the channel members. So thank you again, everybody who's kind of put up with us tonight as we've tried to get everything working. It means a lot to see so much support on the channel. And it should be an eventful day here in the next 48 hours, I think. Have a good night, everyone, and looks like we've got our stream issues fixed, so I'm going to go in there and write down the settings that we have in case they get changed again. It seems to be working better. Hopefully the resolution's good enough, or the quality's good enough. I'll scrutinize that when we get somewhere. So have a good night, and see you back here tomorrow at some point.